وای به تو زدن وای به زدن
آقا زدن محمد حس چیه خیلی خوبه
As Michael here. Today I want to look at the British leaders' reaction to the Iranian attacks and discuss, is it in Britain's interest to get involved in the Iranian regime change? Let's go. Okay, so I've just done a 15-minute video and I realized the microphone was messed up. So I'm going to try and summarize it quickly as possible. And now, with the attack that's happened, essentially the regime change plan from Trump and Israel, there's been mixed response. Keir Starmer is against it. Obviously, the Green leader is against it because his Muslim brothers will not like it. Rupert Lowe has come out and he's neutral. He's saying, partly I agree that we need to be focusing on our country. We don't need to be getting too involved in foreign conflicts. But he's also said that it's not in Britain's interest to be getting involved in the Iranian war. And that's where I disagree with him. So I have 50-50 with Rupert Lowe. And then you have, funnily enough, I agree with Nigel Farage, who I haven't agreed with a lot on, and also Ben Habib, in that it is absolutely in Britain's interest and we should be supporting the American mission. And I'm going to explain why I believe it is in Britain's interests. Because, as I said, I am a Restore fan. If I had to vote for anyone, I'd be voting for Rupert Lowe. I'd also like Ben Habib, though I think the last week hasn't been a good week for Ben Habib and Advance. But ultimately, I believe Restore are the best option for Britain. So generally, I'm a Rupert Lowe fan. But I take each subject on its own case. And in terms of the Iranian regime change, I agree with Farage and Ben Habib. And I'm going to explain why it is in Britain's interests to remove or support America. Okay, number one, the Iranian regime is the biggest reason for the Islamification of the UK, or one of the biggest reasons, probably the biggest reason in my opinion. And they're also the biggest reason for the destabilization of the Middle East, which causes all this migration crisis. And also, the Iranian regime hate the West. They hate all of us. They say death to America, death to Britain, death to the West. First they want to nuclear bomb Israel, and then they're coming for us. And this is not like some conspiracy theory. This is what they say themselves. So, as I said, this is not like Iraq where, was this weapons of mass destruction? It was probably a lie for a war for the military-industrial complex and all that. No, we know the Iranian regime are evil. And it's in our interest to remove them because they're the ones behind, they've been behind a load of terror attacks in our country. They've been behind a lot of the Islamification. Even the good Muslim countries such as the UAE have warned us that the Iranian regime and the Muslim Brotherhood are infiltrating our universities. And they're the ones behind the Islamification of Britain. So if you're against the Islamification of Britain and all the terror attacks, you should be supporting removing the Iranian regime 100%. That's why I support it. And why would Donald Trump support it? He would support it. The Iranian regime were probably behind some of the not death threats, but the actual assassination attempts. Now, I don't know if they were behind the one where he actually got almost killed, but we know that they have been behind some of the efforts, and they've even said it themselves. They want to take him out for revenge for Soleimani. And also the migration crisis. We have a massive migration crisis. And a lot of people are saying, if we go into this war, we're going to get more migration. But I actually believe it will be the opposite. I believe removing the Iranian regime will stabilize the region and it will cause less migration problems. And I also want to say that I support this and it's in Britain's interests. Let's say that we were slightly getting involved, and I believe we should just be given them military bases and stuff like that. But I support it on the grounds that it's a precision operation just to remove the mullahs, which I believe it is. That's why I support it. I do not support a war similar to Iraq and Afghanistan that's going to benefit the military-industrial complex and lead to innocent deaths of British and American troops and Iranian civilians. I do not want that, but I don't believe this is the plan. I do not believe this is a corrupt war. I believe this is just a regime change that makes sense. Firstly, as a British man, for the British people, but also for the Iranian people. This is completely different to Iraq and Afghanistan. And I understand people being skeptical because it was a disaster. It was one of the worst things to happen for the world in the past 20, 30 years, that war. But this is different because the Iranian people do not want their regime. They've been protesting. I think 100,000 innocent Iranians were murdered by their regime. Their regime is evil and psychopaths. And the Iranian regime do not want a Muslim theocracy. And Iran should be a warning to us because the Greens won an election yesterday, and that was because who was allying? The Marxists and the Islamists were allying. And this happened in Iran. We need to learn from Iran because Iran was a thriving secular country, but the Marxists and the Islamists joined together, and the naive Marxists like Zach Polanski and all the Greens helped overthrow the Iranian system. And then when they won, the Muslim extremists took out the Marxists and they gained control, and they've had Islamic theocratic hellhole ever since. And this is what will happen in our country if the Greens ever got power. Zach Polanski and all his LGBT people would be thrown off a building, the radical Muslims would take control, and Britain would become an Islamic theocratic hellhole. So we need to learn from Iran. So there's, for me, the positives far outweigh the negatives. The positives is beneficial for Britain to America to take out probably one of our number one enemies, and self-admitted, they say they hate us. They're the ones causing all this terrorism and stuff. So it's in our interests. It's in the Iranian people's interests. So it's beneficial for the world. It's beneficial for the regime because Iran are behind a lot of the troubles, and even a lot of the Muslim countries are against them, such as the UAE, Saudi Arabia. So if we can encourage the sensible Muslim countries to gain control over the region rather than the likes of Iran, things will settle down and we can end a lot of this migration crisis. And I want to finish the video by saying that a lot of this people against the regime change are people who suffer Israel and Jew derangement syndrome. And I actually believe these people have been subverted because I believe that BRICS, mainly Russia, China and Iran, they want to overthrow the West. And self-admittedly, Russia have said they want a Eurasian empire. And obviously, Iran and all that, they want an Islamic caliphate. And China want to become a new superpower as well through their communist agenda. And BRICS are in a alliance to overthrow the West and take control of the world. And they will be flooding, Yuri Bezmenov have warned, they will be flooding our country with propaganda, subversion. So a lot of this Marxist subversion will be coming from within our elites. I've done a video of this before. Go back a few videos and watch it. I said Britain's biggest enemies. You'll learn more. But it'll be coming from Russia, and China will be part of the Marxist subversion. And the Islamic subversion will be coming from Iran and probably also Qatar. And a lot of their propaganda will be propaganda saying, oh, Britain and America, we need to be isolationist. We need to be Britain first and only worry about our own country. Don't get involved in the world. This is what BRICS and our enemies want. They want us weak, pathetic, like a lot of our right-wing thought leaders. They all say, oh, we don't need to get involved in the world. We just need to focus on our own country. It's only 50% right because we need to be out dominating the world like Donald Trump is doing. If there's an evil regime and we've got the power to overthrow them, we overthrow them. Otherwise, they're going to gain power and they'll be overthrowing us. So we're the most righteous people out of all these. I believe the Anglo liberal followers of Christ, who we should be, are the most righteous. I don't believe Russia, China or Iran, radical Islam, radical communists and radical Marxists, they're not the righteous ones. We need to fight against them. And the Anglo and righteous European people, once we get rid of the European Union, we should be the light of the world and we should be leading the way, not isolationists. Because if we become isolationists, Russia, China and the radical Muslim countries will be in power. And do you think that's a good thing? No. So when your so-called favourite dissident right thought leader is telling you, oh, we don't need to get involved in the world, we just need to focus on our own country, what do you think's going to happen? they're going to be coming for us. And they're already coming for us. The fact that you're thinking this way shows that you're weak and you're pathetic and you don't have any heroic vision. It's cowardly and weak in nature. And I'm not talking about going around. Now, what you need to understand here is our leaders are corrupt, and the Iraq-Afghanistan war was done because our leaders are corrupt. But if we can have righteous leaders in, and I believe Donald Trump is 50-50. I believe he means well, but I don't believe he has that much wisdom. But on this occasion, foreign policy, I believe he is right. And taking out the Iranian regime is a good thing, because he'll be doing it for the benefit of Britain, America, and the Iranian people and the people in the Middle East, not for bankers' wars. He won't be doing it for the military-industrial complex and a load of dodgy wrong-uns, as far as I'm aware. If it ends up getting involved in that and ground troops and, you know, thousands and thousands of troops being killed and money being wasted, then I would be against it. But I don't believe that is the plan. I believe that the benefits far outweigh the negative. Okay, so that's pretty much all I have to say on this subject. Comment below, let me know. This is a very complex situation. I believe most people don't really know what they're talking about on this subject. I have, because I love religion, I've looked into, you know, Iran. What was it like before the regime? How did the mullahs gain power? All the different Islamic views in the Middle East, because a lot of them are against Iran. And most people don't really know what they're talking about. They haven't done any research. And a lot of people believe stupid theories and saying, oh, it's all for Israel and the Greater Israel Project, because that's what they did in Iraq and Afghanistan. But the Great Israel Project is about Israel expanding its borders. And Israel did not expand its borders into Iraq and Afghanistan. So that theory has already been debunked by actual reality. And I live in reality. I don't live in weird theories like Candace Owens. Okay, so as I said, comment below, let me know your thoughts. Like the video, share it with as many people as you can to get better reasoned debate than most people are going to provide. Subscribe if you're new, and God bless everybody today. Goodbye.